Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome. It's time for a little Overreaction Monday right here on Orange Bloods Live. I'm Jeff Ketchum, and that is Chad Hastings, aka Anwar Richardson. He's not white. Do us a solid, hit that thumbs up button. That's when you know you're on absolute like Autobot, when you just do so many shows that you just get your fucking host confused. Hit the subscriber button just because I'm an idiot, and maybe like the button because you feel bad for me. We're talking about the portal. Maybe you feel bad for the Longhorns and the running back position and what happened with Isaac Brown. We're going to unpack it all. Anwar and I are going to talk about the good, the bad, the special teams, all of it. Cam Coleman, you name it. If you've got questions, drop them in the Specs chat. You can super chat us and we'll cut you to the front of the line, but don't do $1.99 because that'll just piss us off. Like, we're not interrupting the show for your dollar. Sponsored by Rogue Shop. I've already partaken in, I'm not just a spokesperson, I'm a client. And I have dabbled in my Rogue Shop this morning. Use that promo code OrangeBloods. Go to the website, check it out. You too can Rogue Shop it up. Onward, do we start with Cam Coleman? Do we lean into the running backs? Do we just talk big picture? Where do we go on a Monday where the Isaac Brown news from last night has definitely left the Texas fan base a little bit shook? We'll talk about it. We'll explain it. We'll talk about what happens next. But you tell me, where do we begin?
Let's go with Brown because Coleman's still on the table,
Correct.
right? So, there is, let's just put a ribbon and bow on Brown, I think, at this moment. This way we can kind of move on to the guys that are still available.
Well, for the last month, I have been teasing on this show, on other shows, on Orange Bloods, that there was a running back that I had heard that the Longhorns had been playing footsie with, and that it wasn't Jaden Ball and it wasn't Kawan Lacey, two of the names that were probably the most discussed with running back options going into the portal. I kept hearing about Isaac Brown. I kept whispering about it. Eventually, we got to a point where I gave enough hints that a few people guessed who it was. Late last week, it seems like the rest of the nation kind of catches up. Suddenly, we start seeing crystal balls and future casts, or whatever you call them, RPMs. They're coming in for Isaac Brown, the running back from Louisville. Then he announces on social media that he is entering the NCAA portal and that, like, his Louisville career is over. And on top of that, he puts a do not disturb sign up on his portal entry, basically saying, y'all ain't got to call me, I'm good. Portal opens up. Louisville takes what we now know officially, like, no one will forget this moving forward. It's not just 48 hours where a school has that amount of time before they are legally obligated to put a kid's name into the portal. They've got 2 full business days, which, when a weekend pops up, means you got more than 48 hours. And they use that time, which we've seen Texas do in the past, to be completely fair. They use that time to try to negotiate. Isaac Brown listened. Everybody just kept waiting for it to happen and for it to happen. Texas behind the scenes is waiting for it to just hop into the portal and then we can do the thing. But there's only so much we can do while you're not in the portal. And then last night he announces that he's staying at Louisville. Louisville did what it needed to do to pull its guy back out of the portal. And so here we are. Jaden Ball of Florida still hasn't made his decision. He hasn't told Florida that he's staying. He hasn't completely told Texas what's what. So they're sitting that out, and that guy's got a lot of leverage today just by sitting pat and watching these other things kind of unfold. And then Kawan Lacey still playing at Ole Miss. Will he enter the portal when the season is over? Do they go after a guy like Caden Durham? Are there other running backs that they would have an interest in? That's kind of where we are today. One of the big 3 that's been talked about, I think, for the last month is off the board. The guy who was, I think, most of the time 1A to Isaac Brown's 1B is still out there. And if Jaden Ball were to enter the portal today and the Longhorns were to scoop him up, a lot of this would be water under the bridge. But if they don't, and I don't even know how to handicap Jaden Ball at the moment, I don't think anybody does. Not Florida, not Texas, not anybody. There's no finality there. And I think everybody's kind of stepped back and said, well, this hasn't unfolded like we kind of thought it would. So maybe we should stop predicting things. We should probably stop predicting things with Jaden Baugh. If it goes beyond that, I think Texas is in a little bit of scramble mode. And then I think they've got to go back to the drawing board at running back. If it's not one of the big three that I think has been on the brain for them for more than a month, then they've got to recalibrate and kind of rethink what they want to do. And I don't know that answer exists today.
Yeah, it's tough. Because you always hope that a bird in hand is worth more than two in the bush, right? And it's like the Baugh thing is, look, you have until the 16th to put your name in. So there's 11 days left before anybody has to really make a move. The Brown thing, fine, that happens. He was there at Louisville. They gave him what he wanted. Obviously, at the end of the day, he didn't really want to leave. He got the money. If you get the money, he can stay. I totally get it, right? We see the same thing with the Ole Miss quarterback, right? He decided over the weekend, like, I'm not going to go anywhere. Like, I'm good here. So only Penn State seems to be the one that's getting like a boatload of guys.
And they're all Iowa State. I mean, basically.
Yes, they're all Iowa State guys. So
if I'm Penn State, I am a little leery at the Nittany Lions becoming the new Iowa State.
I'm like, listen, we're here to win a natty, not the Big 12, okay? And you didn't do that. So let's just be clear. You're bringing a bunch of guys that didn't have you in the Big 12 championship game. So I'm not really quite sure what the hell we're doing here, okay?
I mean, look, and Oklahoma State is taking a bunch of guys that were at North Texas, and I'm not mad. I actually think that that's good for them, but
yeah, it doesn't invoke a lot of. If I'm one of those programs, I'd rather be on this end, like of a big program that hasn't made the move yet, than a program that's making moves. And you're like, this is what we're doing. So the Baugh thing is interesting, right? Because there's a part of me that says, well, if the guy wanted to go in the portal, he could have done so already. I mean, the coach is already here. He's already had a relationship with him. I have to imagine that conversations would have already been had. I have to imagine that conversation not only would have been had with the coach going and coming, the agents, something like that. DJ Lagway is already gone, right? I mean, he's had just about every reason to go in the portal if he wants to. So the fact that no one knows what he's thinking, and look, there might be a smart play in here that I'm just not thinking of, but I don't know if the money becomes more or less for him or more for him a week from now. I feel like the money's the money.
I think the money increased after. I think he's playing a little bit of a game of chicken, and that if Isaac Brown commits to Texas, if you're Florida, well, who else now are you competing against? If he wants 1.5 and you're at 1.2, and he's like, look, I'm not coming back to Gainesville unless you give me 1.5, you can do what Texas has done with some of its players in the past, which is, look, dude, if you think there's $1 million out there for you somewhere, then you do what you got to do. But don't come with us. I think, I won't say the name, but there was a former defensive back that had once heard that Oregon might offer him $600,000 to go to Oregon. And so he was like, hey, I'm a $600,000 player. And Texas was like, no, you're not. No one's actually offered you that money. You do not have an offer. You read on the internet that someone might offer, that they might offer you that money. But that is, if you think you can go get $600,000, like, go do it. But careful. The money thing on this is interesting because I think today, couldn't you get Texas to go higher today? Whereas if Brown commits to Texas and is going to sign with Texas, if you're Ball, well, then you just kind of shrug your shoulders and take the Florida money. But they took a little bit of a calculated risk, whether or not this was even calculated. This may be, just luck. Maybe you just sat still and waited, and the next thing you know, Isaac Brown's back at Louisville, and suddenly Texas does feel like they have to get this done. I know I was messaging with sources yesterday trying to fish for like, hey, does this make you guys more aggressive? Do you have to? And like, no one was taking the what does this mean with Jaden Ball or anybody else. Quite frankly, I didn't get to any of my people wanted to talk about running back at all yesterday. Because the way it kind of went down behind the scenes for me is I was asking about this on Saturday, and when I asked about Ball, kind of the response I got was, well, we can't worry about dudes that aren't in the portal.
That's my point with him. Like, I don't even know how to have a conversation about a guy that ain't in there. I mean,
that's completely fair, except you're also dealing with guys that actually announced they were entering the portal and then just actually never did. So it is, one of the big qualifiers that I put, it feels like on every report that I've done for like the last month. I know I did it on Thursday night in the war room because I used the expression. I said, all of this is somewhat contingent on what Texas is hearing behind the scenes, being on the up and up, that the agents, the reps, the people that they can actually talk to at this point, because they can't talk directly to the kids. Are they telling them what's actually going on? And we've seen it in the past. And look, my sources were dead ass honest about it. Like every time they would say something, they would be like, but look, this is all contingent upon, are the conversations that we're having a smoke screen or not? How many my word is strong as oak commitments are you getting on the phone? And then in reality, oak ain't strong as shit after all. They thought, for good reason, that they were in a place with Isaac Brown that in the end they never were. That kid never went into the portal. One of the things that, because he never got into the portal, Texas never got to talk directly to him. They never talked to Isaac Brown. Never got, they're waiting. They're waiting. And in the end, they're left with, well, we spent a month kind of talking about behind the scenes about this thing potentially being a deal, and then it doesn't come to fruition. I must have said Barry and Brown's name 500 times last week, that we have seen these things happen where guys and their reps and their agents are indicating that one set of action is about to take place, and then something completely different happens. And they played footsie with Barry and Brown's people for 2 years, so that when Barry and Brown finally went into the portal last year, and if I'm being completely honest, they probably could have used Barry and Brown. He would have helped. Although not a ton. He's not great, but super athletic. He'll play in the NFL. But by the time Barry and Brown actually went to the portal a year ago, they were like, we are so down with this dude. This dude could go into the portal 10 times, and we are done dealing with Barry and Brown. Well, the Barry and Brown treatment this year right now is exclusive with Isaac Brown. Now we have to wait and see where else the good vibes are coming from. Cam Coleman's a perfect example. I talked to sources, and you have too. There is confidence at Texas with Cam Coleman, but there's also some realism. I was communicating with somebody yesterday, and he was like, man, these dudes all say the same thing. They all say they love you. They all indicate glowing things. He's going to say the same thing at A&M. He's going to take every visit, and there's going to be good vibes, and there's going to have a good time, and then at some point there will be a brass tacks moment. And probably none of the things that happened in the visit will matter more than what happens in that brass tacks moment. And it hasn't happened yet. So trying to get a vibe for how Texas feels about the brass tacks moment that looms in the distance. The people I talk to are like, look, we like our chances. Does that mean we're getting him? Who knows? Who knows? If Texas Tech comes into this thing or anybody else and just decides they're going to put $5 million on the table, who knows? And we'll wait to see what happens. I don't know that I sit here today. I don't know that anybody leads for Cam Coleman. I think Cam Coleman's going to take these visits on war, and then he may do like Scott Boras does in baseball. He may tell all of these schools, write a number on a piece of paper. You get one opportunity. Write a number down on a piece of paper. We'll look at all of the pieces of paper with the numbers on them, and we're going to take the one that has the highest number. There's no negotiating. There's no back and forth. You tell us the number you're willing to go to, and it's and that may be the way that it works with Cam Coleman. And Kurt Bowles might have been joking about $4 million, or maybe he wasn't joking. Maybe Kurt's just smarter than all of us. Maybe it was at 2.5, and oh crap, you're nervous it might get to 3, but maybe this thing gets to 4. And if it does, whatever the hell happened in Austin will not matter. Whatever happened in College Station won't matter if someplace else is like they're offering 2.75, well, we're offering 4. So I don't know how to predict this thing that we can't see what happens. I have no idea what happens next on that front.
I don't think most people behind the scenes have an idea what's going to happen next. All they know, there's a couple of things. They know that the visit went well. They know that they enjoyed the family. They know all those things, but they also know that they're going to go, they're going to talk to other people. And by the time that this thing circles back, who knows what's going to be said or done from the Coleman camp, right? And what's going to go into their, eventual decision. Will money play a part? Of course it will. There are things that they feel like they offer Coleman that these other programs don't, AKA an NFL quarterback like Arch Manning. Like this is, if you just spent your time with Jackson Arnold, Arch Manning is that water that you need, because you've been out there thirsty, starving to have somebody who can actually get you the ball. So, but at the end of the day, Catch, we've seen guys make business decisions. Sometimes it's not all football decisions. Sometimes it's just a business decision. And what we don't know and nobody knows is this a business decision? And what someone communicated to me is like, this thing is constantly changing. Like whatever you think is true in the morning could change by the afternoon. Like it's always changing. Someone told me like, hey, you might have a person in your office talking to you, and then they get a call from another school talking about, hey man, we got this offer for you, so on and so forth, right? So it's touch and go. I think Texas fans will have to be very patient with this process. It is a wild, wild west of processes where you start talking about agents, you start talking about, as Sark would say, the friend who acts like a representative, who's throwing crazy numbers out there. We got guys who haven't gone into the portal yet. But I can say this though. This is the most interesting thing that I heard, and this won't necessarily be from a Texas perspective, because I didn't necessarily hear this from a Texas side, but I did hear this from a coach who told me coaches are getting smarter right now, and there is collusion happening behind the scenes. And when I mean collusion, I don't mean it in a horrible way. I mean it more as coaches are not getting played anymore. If before coaches would have to bid against themselves, and I'd have to go, hey, Catch, Oregon is offering me 500. If you don't give me 500, I'm out. And then the coach would say, shit, man, I don't know what to do. Well, Oregon, I guess I got to match that offer. Now coaches are saying, oh, okay, well, let me call Dan Lanning real quick. And they'll say, hey, man, this guy's come to me. This is what he said. Is that what you're offering him? And because there isn't a salary cap, because they know there aren't guardrails that are out there, some coaches are just working together. And they're like, hey, man, we can't get played like this. And so I do believe that's one of the reasons why you don't see a ton of activity from some of these major programs, because I do believe some of these guys are getting on the phone, calling each other and saying, hey, you sure that's the offer? And then you can go back to the old guy and say, hey, whoever, you said such and such is offering that. We just talked to him. That's not what it is. You want this offer or not? And they're like, okay, I guess I'll do it.
I think another thing that we're seeing is And I think this is a big part of what has happened this weekend. In the first couple of years of the portal, having the first visit really did mean everything. I can remember there was a kid named Jacoby Winman in one of the first portal years. He was from UNLV. Texas really liked him. And it was Michigan and Texas were the first, Michigan State and Texas were the first two visits that he took. And I remember thinking about it at the time. Well, I guess that kid's starting for Texas next year, because if it's between Michigan State and Texas, why wouldn't he go to Texas? Except he went to Michigan State and like committed and never even gave Texas a chance. And it was one of the first real like, oh, if a kid's taking a visit someplace first, that is a blinking red sign. So we go into the portal this year, and the trends from the first couple of years is that, man, the guy, if you get the first visit, it can be everything. So we go into this past weekend, and Texas has got the number one edge, the number one running back. They are bringing in the number one overall player, the number one wide receiver. Texas had more talent on campus this weekend than any other school in the country. So it's like, oh, Texas got all these dudes first. So there's no question that rightfully, I think it set up some expectations that, well, Jesus, man, Texas got these dudes first. And then, unfortunately, for Texas, is that what has happened this weekend. And this isn't me just talking to Texas and Texas fans. This is the entire landscape. Other than the quarterbacks, who always kind of bounce around to the beat of their own drums anyway, because it's a game of musical chairs, and they really are like when Texas Tech gets a guy, it's like, okay, well, they're off the board, and every other quarterback then has to think about, well, how does that impact me? And so quarterback's different. And then we've seen a bunch of dudes commit or to head coaches that they played for last year. So James Franklin's getting some Penn State guys, and Matt Campbell's getting some Iowa State guys, and the new coach at Oklahoma State is getting some North Texas guys. But other than that, we are not watching the big dogs go off the board. They're all taking the second and sometimes third visits. They are all delaying decisions. Not all, but 80%. The number that I had last night when I went to bed was that 15, maybe it went up to 16. 16 of the top 100 players in the country that I ranked had given commitments through the weekend. 16%. And none of those were from top 25 players who otherwise hadn't played for the previous coach before. So
where did Indiana factor in that one?
What's that?
Where did Indiana factor in?
Indiana gets Josh Hoover, who I don't have ranked in my top 25. And they got Nick Marsh, who's like top 35, kind of a consensus top 30 off the top of my head. I want to say that maybe 24/7 had him 23rd overall, and maybe On Three had him 29, and I had him a few spots lower than that. They've done okay. Texas Tech.
They have this Toby guy. Is it Toby?
He is not anywhere near as good as the guy that Texas got this weekend. The kid, the defensive tackle they got, I think I have ranked higher than anybody. I have him as a top 100 guy, but he's not a difference maker. Good player, though. Like if Texas had landed that guy, I would say going to be a good rotational piece, has a chance to play on Sundays, but I don't rank him as high as the Gefford kid that the Longhorns got, primarily because the kid that the Longhorns got checks 4 boxes. And I think they're 4 important boxes. One, he's the biggest defensive tackle in the portal. We know Texas loves size. There's not a lot of 6'5", 380 guys in the portal. There's not a lot of 6'5", 360 guys in the portal. They got one of those big monsters that they want to have. He is SEC proven. He has a season's worth of starting experience under his belt, and he's got multiple seasons of eligibility left. So check, 4 check marks. Whereas if we were to take a look at the guy that you just mentioned, doesn't check but one of those boxes, has starting experience, but doesn't come from a major program. Or I guess he comes from Kansas State. I got to look back at where he comes from. But doesn't have the SEC experience, doesn't have quite the size, doesn't have multiple years of experience under his belt. in terms of what's left from an eligibility standpoint, which when you saw Murad Watson, when you saw Emmett Mosley, when you see some of the guys that they tried to target, this Andrew Sprague, the offensive lineman from Michigan, who I think may be the next commitment when it's all said and done. 3 years of eligibility in that instance. He just finished his freshman season as a 12-game starter for Michigan, didn't play in the bowl game, but is a guy that has started at the high D1 level as a freshman and now has 3 years left. That's typically the profile that Texas loves the most. So now we go on this week. I had somebody last night tell me, look, Texas still believes that it's going to sign between 8 and 10 guys that it would describe as difference makers, guys that are probably starting, guys that are rotating in, guys that would make a major impact on next year's team. I think they've signed one so far. So there's a lot that's still to happen, but I think projecting exactly who that is tough to do. And I think the wide receiver position is a great example. If you're Texas, the one thing that does happen out of this, and to me, this is what Brandon Harris has to be doing right now, if at all possible. The world knows that Texas wants Cam Coleman. The world knows that Texas is offering Cam Coleman half the national debt. The world knows they want a number one wide receiver to play with Arch Manning, and they're willing to do it, and they're willing to do it to such an extent that Cam Coleman went to Texas first. Going to give them the first shot. If you're Texas, because one of the guys that noticed everything that was happening this weekend was a couple of Clemson wide receivers. I don't know if you saw that, but when some of the money that Cam Coleman was getting was being discussed, Antonio Williams retweeted it with some eye emojis like, hey, this dude's out here getting paid. And his teammate, Bryant Wesco, then retweeted him with the same thing. There's a whole bunch of wide receivers across college football right now who have big eye emojis at what's taking place with Cam Coleman. Because if you're Texas, what you need to be telling people is this. Hey, man, we want Cam Coleman. He's the guy that we want, but we got to walk away with the number one somehow, some way, by any means necessary. So if that means you got to be on the phone with Bryant Wesco's people in the background saying, look, I know your boy has no intentions of going into the portal. But if we come back to you, say before the 10th, because it's the 5th, we come to you by Friday and we tell you that we're going to pay your dude $2 million, you think that might change how you'll approach the portal? Yes? Cool. We'll be staying in touch. You know what I mean? If you're Texas, the one thing this whole Cam Coleman situation has done, I think, is put a bat signal up across the country. If somehow because guys are noticing, if they come away from all this without a big dog, this will have just been a disaster, given how much of an appetite and gusto they're showing to go for something really big. But they may inadvertently have big walk to them if they don't get Cam Coleman, because I do think there will be receivers across college football who are looking at the money that's going around and saying, I want some of that. How do I get some of that? If you're Texas, you're letting guys know as transparently as possible. You want to know how to get some of that? Pick up the phone and call a number with a 512 in it.
I mean, the thing is, Texas, we'll get to the super chats here. Texas does have backup options at there. But look, you better, because I hate to say it like this, dude's going to visit Texas Tech. And the one thing we know about Tech, they don't give a damn right about now. Like, old boy is going to say, look, they already got a quarterback, and they're going to say, you know what? We're going to money whip you. Cool. Hey, they're going to look at it, Catch, and then say, that Texas offer was what? Oh, that looks pretty cool. Huh. Okay, so you want an extra $2 million to that or what? And that's the thing about if you told me Tech wasn't involved in the Cam Coleman sweepstakes, I'm like, hey, let's see what happens this week. You tell me he's got to go to Lubbock, the way they throwing around money, I'm like, man, what's the plan B? Who else you got? Who else you got? Like I like it. I want it to happen, but we know Tech was overpaying for guys that Texas was like, hey man, go ahead, man. If you can get it, we're not even mad at you. Go take that money. And that's my thing with this. I'm like, you better have some backup plans, and you may have some good ones, but you better have some backup plans here, because I don't know if that dude gets out of love.
I can guarantee that how Texas can get Cam Coleman, maybe even against Cam Coleman's wishes. Cam Coleman and Jaden Ball. I can guarantee you how right this second Texas gets that done. But it's going to require somebody really important to be the bad guy. You want to hear my plan? Arch has to be the bad guy. Arch has to walk into the Texas coaches and say, y'all motherfuckers are wasting my time. Y'all really gonna lose Trey Wisner and DeAndre Moore and not surround me with dudes that can catch the ball and help me win a natty? If y'all don't get some dudes, I'm bouncing before the 15th. I'm out. Deuces. Man, if Arch just used his own super leverage and caused Sark to get into a room with some money people and go, hey, because this would happen at other schools with quarterbacks whose names aren't Arch Manning. This is what Nico tried to do at Tennessee last year.
Yeah, but you know that's not Arch's DNA, though.
But if he did that, Texas would be like, well, look, we got by any means. I don't know that there's a by any means necessary attitude. I think it exists in Lubbock, which is why you're a little bit antsy about the whole, if Texas Tech is involved, we've seen what they could do. They might just, no. At just one time in my life, I wanted to see Texas just be what Texas claims it can be. You want Cam Coleman? Fuck, we ain't letting Cam. Once upon a time, Jerry Jones decided, oh, I'm going to go get Deion Sanders. That was over with. It was over with. Texas can get Cam Coleman. They can. But I don't know that they want to go to the mattresses. It's one thing to say, I'll put a horse's head in your bed and you'll be covered with guts and blood and you'll probably be very traumatized and you'll need to see a shrink, but I will put a horse's head in your bed, because that's what it means to go to the mattresses. It's a hell of a thing to say that that's what you'll do. It's another thing. You've seen The Godfather 2, right?
Of course.
What'd they do to that poor horse?
That poor horse went through a lot.
What did they do to the poor horse? The horse's head was in the bed, Anwar. Like,
it's still fascinating how they got that in there, like that big thing, and he just woke up next to it. And it's like, oh, where does this horse's head mysteriously come from? Right? It's like, dude, you're a really sound sleeper, but that's overanalyzing.
They say we're going to make him an offer he can't refuse. They mean what they say. When Texas says we're all in, do they really mean all in?
Catch, it shouldn't. Can I just say this? It shouldn't come to that, though. You know why it shouldn't? And I hear, I can play along with what you're saying, but at the end of the day, if you're Texas, you got to, and you're Sark, you got to tell yourself, hey, I got to get back to the playoffs. Like, by hook or crook, we have to. There has to be a sense of urgency that that you can't sit on. Hey, 3 double-digit win seasons. All right, I mean that's cool, but you have to go into this saying like, hey, we've got to get back to where we once were in that 2023 season, 2024 season, and so I would be almost distraught if it took Arch to make them say, hey man, let's light a fire up your ass. Like, the fire up your ass needs to be, you didn't make the playoffs. And the fire up your ass needs to be, you got Ohio State in week 2. And you've got an SEC schedule that's coming that's going to be really, really tough. And by the way, this is your last year of Arch. your last year. So what are you going to do with that? So I'm hoping that is the motivation. I hear what you want to say. Hey, let's knock out these super chats real quick, Catch, because they've been stacked up for a minute. Where are we at? We'll start with the 10th spot. We'll start with Edward. Said, hey, why recruiting 4- and 5-star running backs and looking outside the program for a running back? Okay. We have a 6'3", 5-star on the team that played running back in high school. Possible incompetent evaluation?
I mean, Edward, yes. Their running backs on campus aren't good enough. At least they weren't a year ago. You saw them, right? You watched the games. So they are looking elsewhere. I honestly, I don't know what you're asking me. Yes, they are looking outside the program at all positions where they don't feel like they have current answers. Why are they looking for current answers outside of the program? Well, for a lot of reasons, but incompetent evaluation. I mean, that's harsh. Incompetent evaluation is strong. Incompetent, failed. Yeah. Like careful with, I think words matter. Incompetent makes it sound like they took some dwarf off the street and asked him to play left tackle. And then can't believe that a guy that was under 5 foot couldn't hold up in the SEC. That would be incompetence. They're involved in a pseudoscience that requires them to look at 17-year-old guys and to project their bodies into what they'll be when they're 22 and 23-year-old men. And sometimes they don't evaluate correctly. It happens. Take it from me. I do rankings every year, and I'm going to miss way more than I hit. And either you get somewhat comfortable with that reality or you need to find a new reality. This is a pseudoscience. It is as imperfect as it gets. And in the name of being as viable and as aggressive as possible, Texas and other schools like, I don't know, Indiana are looking to address finding answers for questions outside of conventional 100-year-old fashions.
Well, I would just say this, and we'll move to the next one. I won't say incompetent, but I will say this, though. I will say their love for CJ Baxter did them in, because at the end of the day, I would have much rather have seen Christian Clark and what he can do, because CJ Baxter has never shown himself to be elite. But because they were so determined to make that part happen, I think it may have suffered for some of the other guys, in that room. Because I looked at Clark in the bowl game and said, well, damn, I wish I would have seen a little bit more of that. I don't know what James Simon can do, but he didn't really get an opportunity. I just think their love for Baxter was probably more detrimental for anything else. But our man T came in here. He goes, what changes with NIL, portal, and the CFP do you predict will occur for the 2026 college football season? What changes with NIL, portal, and the CFP do you predict will occur for the upcoming season?
Tracy, we haven't even gotten through. We're like 4 days or 3 days into the first window. I have no idea how this is going to end. So I have no predictions for NIL in the portal. Because I don't know, in a couple of weeks, is everybody going to be bitching about this thing? Or are we going to look at this and go, why is there only one portal? There needs to be 2. This was a disaster. I have no idea. It's completely different than it was a year ago. So I don't know. I don't think they'll expand beyond 12 yet.
Playoff teams?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're 2 years into that. I think we're probably a few more years away before they go to 16.
That's probably fair. All right. And then the last one that I've noticed here, Brian, he says, I'm more interested in Jaden Woods. Catch. He's an elite pass rusher with first-round talent. An elite defense with pressure can shut elite offenses down.
Texas is still very much in it. In fact, I'm not even quite sure who the number 2 school would be, but there will be many. He is exactly what you talked about, an elite pass rushing talent. Those guys are worth their weight in gold. He will not be inexpensive. I think that he falls into the category of what did we just – so look, I think Texas got the jump on Jaden Woods. I think they've probably been talking to him behind the scenes longer than anybody. I think he falls into the category of, I had a couple of my sources for the last couple of weeks go catch. Can't tell you names because the worst thing that happens to us is that schools find out that we're interested in a guy and they get interested. Schools find out we can't let out, we don't want this to be, we did the work for everybody else and then we got undercut at the end. Well, in a way, there's no way, some of this stuff you just can't keep secret. Woods is one of them. They got the first visit and everything sounds really, really good. But what did my biggest source tell me yesterday? The real negotiations haven't started. These guys are going to take more visits. They are going to exhaust all of the leverage to find out what is their highest viable earning position and then make a decision from there. So I think Texas is easily in the thick of it with Woods, and I still think they're probably the betting favorite, but I would probably take the field over Texas just because we haven't gotten to brass tacks time. All of these big time guys are still getting offers. They're still seeing new schools emerge and say, we got millions too. And these guys aren't like committing early because it feels good. There's no, the romance of like, well, why would I commit early? Because I want to get ready for school. I want to start following people on social media and making friends. I can make friends in a week. Yeah. So buckle up. Buckle up. What are we learning in real time? The first visits this year and maybe forevermore only means so much. No, duly noted. That wasn't the case really a year ago. Is it unfortunate for Texas that it becomes the case in a year where Texas finally has a bunch of elite talent coming in on the very first? Now the rules. Hey, I don't make the rules. I just tell you what the rules were once we've seen what the rules were. And unfortunately, we told you a week ago what the rules had been, and today the rules look to have changed.
If I am Arch and I'm Trevor Gooseby and I got to go into the facility today, I'm like, hey, man, we got any help coming, coach? Hey, coach, I was just kind of curious. I was following some stuff on Twitter. I was busy. I got some things that's going on and blah, blah, blah. I just came in for some treatment today. But what's going on with the offensive line? Because look, the Jaden thing, that sounds cool. I got no problems. You want to add in a really good edge guy? Sure. It's a plethora of riches. Stack them up. That's cool. Go ahead and get yourself another guy. Like,
you're reminding me that the offensive line's critical.
but then there's I don't know if you watched some of these games last. I don't know if you're busy on Saturday's catch. I kind of had to watch some of them. I felt like Arch, there was times where I was like, oh my God, I can't see this man take. He got hit so much, catch. I didn't want him to play in the bowl game. I was like, don't put this man out there. Now, to Arch's credit, he balled the hell out. But even then, I was like, yo, I don't need this quarterback taking another hit. If there's anything I'm overreacting to on a Monday, more so than the Cam Coleman situation or Brown or anything like that, it's really the lack of firepower from the offensive line perspective. Now, I know there's been some stuff out there with the Michigan guys and keep an eye on that. And look, that happens, great. But I'm going to say
it has to happen, though.
It hasn't. And that's the crazy thing. There's things that have it. And, we know that, it's almost like you're almost in a better position sometimes, catch, to convince a guy to stay if you really want him, as opposed to trying to, this person leaves. For me, what I'll be monitoring this week as we head into the weekend, catch, is what's going on with that offensive line, and what are you bringing in to help Arch and to keep him up. I mean, for whatever it's worth, Nate Kibble went into the portal this weekend. I'm not saying Nate Kibble was a star by any stretch of the imagination, but they're at that position, though.
Yeah, but that guy sucks. They got to get some dudes that don't suck.
Could you say not good? I said not, I didn't say it was. Like, poor Nate Kibble. Did he deserve to say he sucks? Did Nate deserve that?
I mean, as bad as that position was this year, I think Nate played like 13 snaps or something like that. So, like, they looked at Nick Brooks and went, well, we got Nate Kibble. He's been around here longer. Yeah. I don't know. What about Neto? Well, God. You're right. I shouldn't have said sucks. I apologize. There's better word choice. But, man, they got to get better. I think that, and ultimately, look, here's the problem that Nate Kibble has. And maybe Texas has too. And this is Texas has got to figure this out. Offensive linemen almost universally take 2 or 3 years of development before they get good. DJ Campbell was a 5-star, but he didn't really turn a corner until at some point in 2024. And they got about a year and a half of really good football out of him. But his early football as a 5-star wasn't very good. Like, they were rotating him in with Connor or with Cole Hudson, and we know Cole Hudson's not good. So the Trevor Goosebys and the Kelvin Bankses are the exceptions. And what happens is we watch them. By the way, best wishes to Kelvin Banks. Hope the injury from yesterday. Don't know what the final word on that is, but hope he's okay. By the way, did you see what happened to Quinn? Because you talked about Arch taking the beating. Did you see?
I saw the score of the game.
Quinn's last play. Quinn started really well, actually. I think he had a 125 quarterback rating for most of the first half. Close game. But late in the fourth quarter, Quinn starts rolling out to his right. He doesn't feel the backside pressure at all because he just doesn't feel. You're watching the game, you can see him getting tracked down. He doesn't get smoked or anything, but he gets tackled from behind for a sack, and the guy lands on top of Quinn, and Quinn grabbed his knee and then had to miss the rest of the game. It looked like because of an injury, and it was like, because you brought up how durable Arch was, and I think you're right. Like, you can't go into next year saying, well, shit, he took a beating this year. We'll be okay. Have you seen how well he takes beatings? You don't want your quarterback to be Jesse Pinkman. You don't want to be like, well, can we put a dog collar on him and use him as a slave and make him still cook crystal meth? Yeah. Cool. I mean, you don't want it to be like that if it doesn't have to be. And, if Arch doesn't have to have Jesse Pinkman days next year, awesome. And they've got to find a way to make that happen. They cannot keep expecting your quarterback to survive all big hits because we know that in a normal world on war, they don't. That what Arch did this year is kind of an anomaly, that Sam Ehlinger didn't do it, that Quinn couldn't do it, that most of the quarterbacks that have played for Texas have tried, but it's a physical game. Not having great offensive lines leads to more contact. Arch made it go, man. Like, there was, other than, I guess, the concussion, because had to have one of those, otherwise known as Anwar always reminds me, a brain injury, had to have a brain injury at some point midway through the season. But other than that, his limbs stayed intact. And that's about as good as you can hope for. Rolling the dice twice with a sketchy offensive line is asking for all kinds of problems. So, yeah, they got to get that right. If they can get the 2 guys from Michigan, you're potentially suddenly, without talking, they still need more after that. They need more depth. I think it's got to be the start and not start, beginning, and end. It can't be all. They can't go get 2 guys from Michigan and be like, we're good. But if they did get the 2 guys from Michigan, you're potentially taking the Michigan tackle and putting him in Brandon Baker's spot. Or you're just super deep at tackle all of a sudden. You finally have the thing that you've never had before, which is legitimate depth. Best 2 guys play. Third guy potentially moves inside. So now you're talking about your guards could be the Michigan guy and Brandon Baker, who's probably an NFL guard at the next level. Mm-hmm. You could even be talking about a left side that's Gooseby and Baker, and a right side that's the 2 Michigan guys. And then you're either rolling with Connor Robertson, who ended up being pretty good, and I see the super chats, right? Robertson was okay this season. He ended up being a completely serviceable offensive lineman. If you surround him with those 4, add some depth, you're in a much better place offensively in the offensive line than you were a year ago, I think. Like you can see a light at the end of the offensive line tunnel, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to lose sight of the thing that I think you importantly point out time and time again throughout this hour, which is don't tell me, show me. And so that sounds good. It sounds good to get the 2 Michigan guys, but they need to go get the 2 Michigan guys. And then we can talk about the problems that have been solved. But we did that with Isaac Brown, and look where that got us. So at some point, we are officially at the stage of don't tell me about the labor pains, just show me the baby. Yeah. And I get it. I would just say to Texas fans, don't overreact, though. It is, if the big targets beyond Isaac Brown, if more than one of the big targets start to go off the board, Coleman, Woods, Ball re-ups with Florida, and it's suddenly then I think an overreaction won't even be an overreaction at that point. It'll just be a reaction. But I just think some of what we've seen, because Isaac Brown and Isaac Brown only decided that he wasn't coming to Texas. No one else did that. That's just not what happened. Cam Coleman had the nerve to take a visit to College Station, but nothing else bad has happened yet in the way of, well, there's no way back from that. Hell, even if things were going bad with Cam Coleman, you know what would turn that around? A phone call with a higher number. I mean, sometimes it's just going to be that simple.
Hey, Catch, go. I want you to knock out ATX Bakes, and then Tom G sent me something, so I'm going to go grab it real quick as a prop, okay?
Okay. All right, I will start knocking out the super chats. Give me just a second. I see. What are the one? ATX Bates. Appreciate the Assassin's Creed sweater, Catch. Is that what this is? Happy New Year's. It's just comfortable. Are we seeing in real time the dispersing of talent across the nation via NIL versus the top tier hoarding of talent from a decade ago? Definitely to some degree, for sure. For sure, because everybody's got money. And that wasn't really the case at this point last year. The revenue agreement hadn't completely been in place. The Indianas and the Texas Techs and even the Texases of the world. One of the reasons why you're not hearing Texas complain about we ain't got enough money and we need more people to donate to the Texas One Fund. It's not really the messaging that I've been getting this year, because a year ago it didn't have the 15.5 million in revenue share to add to the kitty to get all of this done. That injection of hundreds of millions of dollars into the college football economy has absolutely created a situation where we are seeing the talent more evenly dispersed. I posted this over on Orange Bloods. Georgia hasn't signed anybody of significance. Ohio State hasn't signed anybody of real significance.
One guy.
Who?
Each one. Georgia signed one guy.
Right. No, Georgia and Alabama both have commitments from one guy. Neither of them are like elite of the elite guys. Right. Oregon has no commitments yet. We know they'll get theirs. Texas A&M's got like six.
Six, yes.
But only one of them is a guy that I have, the cornerback from Colorado, whose name I can't pronounce. It's like Talweek, something crying. It's just weird. I have him in the top 50, but everybody else, they got some specialists and a deep snapper. They kind of did what Texas did. Oklahoma's got commitments and signed a few guys, but nobody. If Texas had that Oklahoma commitment list right now, Texas fans would be going crazy talking about where are the good players. So it's still unfolding.
I would say A&M leads SEC programs with 6, followed by Ole Miss and Arkansas at 4. And then, Texas is at 3. So, I mean, it's not like
– Texas has 4.
4, right? So, yeah. 24/7 needs to update that. And I need to update. So, they have 4. It's not like there's been a whole bunch of – you've got your Penn States, like you said, who are doing things, Indiana's, Colorado. But, that's pretty much –
Indiana, which I think Indiana may have the best portal class in the country so far. It might even either be them or Texas Tech, because I don't think it's a real high bar at this point. Well, what does Indiana have? Indiana right now, of their 6 or 7 guys they got committed, and look, they had to get a bunch of work done now, like this weekend. because they got a game in a few days. So they really did take the approach of, we're going to get our guys now, and you're our guys. And if you leave town, we're probably not going to be messing with you this week because we're going to be distracted. Fair enough. But Indiana's got 3 top 100 guys. 2 of the 3 are top 50 guys. Depending on how high you have Josh Hoover ranked, it's all these quarterbacks Tech kind of the same way. I don't think the Cincinnati quarterback's worth a shit. I mean, he's okay. But go look at his numbers from the last 4 games. He's got a very much a John Mateer vibe, which is
I don't want to hear it, Catch. You told me the Georgia quarterback wasn't that good last year.
And you know what? They don't want him back. Who does Georgia want at quarterback? Go ask a Georgia fan if I'm right. If I was right about the quarterback situation there. They're trying to run that dude out of town because he got his brain scrambled. Y'all are mean as fans, man. Y'all always want to pick on guys when their brains get scrambled on national television in front of the entire world. They don't want Gunnar Stockton back. In the end, he always beats Texas.
Yeah.
But Gunnar Stockton, I don't think, will be the quarterback at Georgia next year. And if he is, they ain't winning anything. And you know who agrees with me? Georgia fans.
All right.
And all I'm saying about the kid that Texas Tech just got a commitment from is that he's a good player. He's put up some nice stats in the Big 12 against, Power 4 teams. But his quarterback ranking this season was 155. In his last 4 games, Anwar, he had a 93.5 quarterback rating and a 45-14 loss to Utah. Then the next fucking week at home against Arizona, he put up a 97.3 quarterback rating. 15 of 28 for a 154, 1 touchdown and 2 picks. That happened on November 15th. That was not like, Catch you bringing up old stuff. This was 6 weeks ago. Then he had a 144 and a loss to BYU. And then in the season finale against TCU, he went for 171.5. So good game. He ends the season in a 45-23 loss. He had a good performance. But these were his games, last 4 games of the season at Cincinnati. He lost 45-14 and had a 93.5 quarterback rating. He lost 30-24 and had a 97.3 quarterback rating. He lost to BYU 26-14 and had a 144.2, which only sounds good because those other numbers are so whack. And then he had in a 22-point loss to TCU, he did post a 171.5, had a good game statistically. If Quinn had posted those numbers, nobody would be talking about he's the number 1 quarterback in the transfer portal. We would all be talking about that guy looks like he might end up being his 7th round draft choice. And I'm not saying he's not a good player, and I'm not saying he's not going to have a good season at Texas Tech, Anwar. I'm just saying the new portal trend is that the national media makes a mountain out of a quarterback molehill every year. Every year they're picking these dudes that are scrubs on other teams, and they're trying to convince the Oklahomas of the world that these dudes that when they were at Washington State couldn't beat Wyoming at home, that they're just going to come to Norman and be the best player in the country. My head just explodes because I feel like people say this stuff out loud and that there should be more people like me whose reaction is, what the fuck did you just say? Like, it doesn't make any intellectual sense what people are trying to sell us on this quarterback from Cincinnati. And I kind of feel that way about all these quarterbacks that are being talked about. There is not a Dante Moore in the transfer portal this year. There is not a Julian Sayin in the transfer portal this year. The guy that might be closest to that is actually DJ Lagway. And I'm fascinated that these other dudes who are not NFL prospects, but are good college players, are more ballyhooed in the transfer portal than the guy that I think actually has much higher NFL chops as a talent, but obviously was an interception machine a year ago. And I don't know, it's like a different set of rules. It really is like driving a new car off the lot. It's shiny as a new car. You drive it off the lot. It's worth half the moment that you do that. And it kind of feels like a year ago we were talking about DJ Lagway being a first-round pick and maybe the first team all-SEC quarterback, has a very uneven bad year, and now he's not as good as Brandon Sorey or whatever the hell his name is, who just went from Cincinnati to Texas Tech, who got his ass driven into the ground 4 straight times to end the season and had one good game in all 4 of those. And we're supposed to act like Texas Tech's going to play in the national championship game because they got that dude on their team now.
All right, we got $45 in super chats that we need to knock out here, Coach. So let's get through this. Tom G, he said, enjoy the whiskey. Tom G sent this to me. A nice bottle of whiskey here.
Is this the prop?
Yeah. I just wanted to show it here because he wanted to mention it. So
can't you drink some of that on the show?
I'm going to save it.
Okay.
Save it for
that was my way of asking how good it was.
He says he doesn't know. He goes, I don't know a lot about this stuff, but it's highly recommended. So
it's not 10:02 in the morning sipping. I got it. That's what I was asking,
No. But he goes, if not the big 3, Bob, Brown, or Lacey of the running backs, who is an option?
Well, look, I think the thing that people don't realize is running backs is the most, usually it's wide receiver. This year, running backs pretty freaking loaded in the portal. It will be about like beauty's in the eye of the beholder, because I can name 3 names off the top of my head. Let's start. Adam Muhammad was the backup at Washington this year, and you may be thinking to yourself, well, I don't want Washington's backup. He rushed for about 500 yards. I watched his film, and other than Isaac Brown, he's the only running back I've watched where just watching him, don't tell me anything other than, does he impress you when you watch his film? He makes me come out of my chair. He's that talented. He went off against Oregon in the Oregon game because the starting running back for Washington got hurt. He came in, was the best player on the field against Oregon at Oregon. He's a stud. He's going to play in the SEC. He might end up at A&M when it's all said and done. He would be at the top of my list. He has the Caden Durham is the guy that fits a Texas profile. Now, look, he has not quite looked like the same player at Duncanville at LSU because of injuries, but this is a guy that's still been a very productive player. You could go get him. And then an all Big 12 running back named Malik Brown, who had a really big year at Arizona State, is in the portal. Not quite thought about going pro, decided against it. I mean, you could add any of those 3 guys, and to me, the running back room just got a lot better. And I would take all 3 of those guys, if I'm being completely honest, over Trey Wisner. Now, that may be a little bit of, I know what the bird in the hand is, so I'm taking my chances on one in the bush. Touche. That might be right. But I know what Trey Wisner's limitations are as a football player, making guys miss and creating big runs among them. And all of these guys have greater ability to do both of those things than Trey Wisner does. Who is a guy that I think will play in the NFL.
Tom G came back with another 20 spots, so that's 40. I think he had another one, so I think Tom's dropped at least 50. He goes, if you can't get a top running back, you put all that money on Cam and ensure that at minimum Arch has the best damn wide receiver core in the country while shoring up the old line.
I mean, just get some shit done. Yeah. There's a lot of ways to complete the puzzle. Some people start with the edges first. Other people try to get all of the pieces that look the same colors and they put them in a pile and they start. A lot of ways to put a puzzle together. Just put it together. Because we're at the stage right now where they're telling us, oh, we want to put this puzzle together so badly. Okay, we'll do it then. Put it together. And then when it's over with, we'll look at this badass 5,000-piece puzzle that you put together and we will clap you. We will be like, that had to be so hard. Everybody needs a raise. Do you know how hard it must have been to do that and to do that and to do that? Okay. We're all ready to give Texas the flowers. But they got to do it. They got to go out and do it. And I don't know why they can't get a top running back. I don't know why they can't do that and get a badass wide receiver and shore up the offensive line. I was told the money's there to get what they want accomplished. And a day ago, they felt like the money was right to get Cam Coleman, one of those two running backs, and all the offensive linemen they need. Money's not a problem. Closing the deal is the only thing that appears to be the problem. Make that not a problem.
We'll end the super chats. From what I can tell, I'll go back and check.
Oh, you are about to scratch Anwar's itch.
Hey, I wanted to have the conversation on Friday. You didn't want to have it, and it ended up being one of the biggest conversations that people had all weekend long.
I didn't know Parker Livingston was going to set the place on fire on the way out the door.
If we had the conversations, we would have been.
We were not going to have a conversation about his press release. He hadn't made it yet.
I understand, but you're like, nobody wants to talk about it. I'm like, okay. So,
well, Anwar, look, Anwar, at the 106 mark of the show on January 5th, 2026, bookmark it. I'm sorry, I was wrong.
Shit.
I mean, I can't do anything else other than that.
Goodbye. Everybody have a great day.
I don't know what else to do. I just
have a great day.
You know. Yes, Parker Livingston went ham over the weekend. Anwar, I blew that off. Well, let's just end on this. I blew that off for a lot of the same reason why you blew it off. I just not on Friday, just on the weekend. You and I were not like Parker Livingston fan club members. Good player, but there's a bunch of good players. There's good players everywhere. He's one of them. Texas is looking for dudes to beat Georgia and Ohio State, and I don't know that that's him as a starting wide receiver at Texas. Him making the comment that he had no control over what happened, I just thought that just sounds like some stuff that people say on the way out the door, and I did not realize that the national media was so thirsty to start a culture war over the portal that it would take those comments, not do any homework, and just say, big bad evil Texas forcing Arch Manning's roommate out the door into poverty without a home.
That was crazy.
I thought most people would look at that and just go, oh, and look, I saw one person react in what I thought was a smart way. Robert Littau looked at some of the tweets, and I saw him comment on Twitter, I thought Parker Livingston was pretty good, but some of what's being said doesn't make any sense. I think I'll wait for more information to come out. I mean, way to go, Robert.
Yeah. It was, you know what? The thing is, I'll just say this, it was weak sauce, especially when when you find out that he actually did get an offer that he turned down because he did want more money. And I think the rub is for Texas fans who he kind of made himself into I'm a Longhorn guy. I'm a Texas kind of guy. I love UT and all this kind of stuff. And it's okay, but then not only do you say something that's inaccurate, but then you're going to go visit Oklahoma? Oh, okay, got it. I get this BS here. And so, Parker goes from a guy who's probably loved by Longhorn fans in the community to a guy that's probably just going to be disliked whenever they see him again. And the last thing I'll say, because we don't have to spend much time on it, don't you feel like Arch's roommate, if Arch was like, hey, coach, Parker needs to be here. That's my guy. You don't think Sark would be like, all right, we'll bite the bullet on this one as long as that makes you happy. If Arch didn't stand on the table and say, hey, that's my guy, that's my roommate. We played PlayStation together.
What is happening here?
Hell to the no. I refuse. Parker, I'll be right back. I'm heading down to Sark's office right now. I'll handle this for you. And he was like, oh, wait, y'all bringing in Cam Coleman? Hey, man, what you going to keep the blender? Or are you going to take that with you, or are you gonna? What about this? Hey, man, it's gonna be suck. Yeah, man, we're gonna miss you, man. We're gonna miss you.
I had one source this weekend. I think look, it's hard to put tone into the written word, especially with text messages. I swear to God, I'll listen to my wife read somebody's text message, and it always sounds like someone wants to go to war with her.
Like the Key and Peele skit.
It's exactly like that. Exactly. So I was texting a source, and we were talking about the whole thing. And I had joked earlier in the day that I thought the whole Parker Livingston thing was a bit of the grits being overcooked because he's a white boy playing wide receiver. And like college football fans get a little bit excited whenever that dynamic ever occurs. It just like people lost their minds over the Scattaboo guy from Arizona State. Like fans just get excited when it happens. It doesn't happen all the time. When it does happen, there's like a tax. There's like an excitement tax that comes with it. And like white people can't help themselves. They just get excited. They just do. And I made the comment. I was like, I just think that some of this is like, they don't even know that they're doing it. There's just the white guy tax of like, we love this guy. And then a little bit later on, he sends me a copy of the Stuart Mandel tweet. And I wrote, I'm looking at the text messages now. I wrote, I guess I misread the room on the Livingston deal. People are hot about those comments. The following stream of text messages I received, all in short bursts, not like a paragraph, just bing, bing. My phone must have been like going crazy. The source said, I don't give a now I'm reading it in my tone, right? This is me being my wife reading the text messages. He could have said it like this. I don't give a fuck. But I read it like, I don't give a fuck. Your job is to report facts, both sides. Everyone else will follow suit. I don't care what the white supremacists think. I care about reporters getting facts out there.
Oh, Jesus. I'm not touching this.
Now, look, I only tell that story because, like, it's all good, I think. But when I tell you that people behind the scenes, I have had people, a dozen people in the last 24 hours go, hey, man, if they miss out on Cam, you think there's a chance that Parker might come back?
Nah.
I don't think people understand what happened this weekend. That was a forever offense that was committed. And I kind of hope the kid goes to Oklahoma now because it really will add, like, it will make him a unique character. Go ahead and be the villain, Parker. Because he is kind of the villain now after what happened. Look, it's easy for me to say because I wasn't the one being insulted, Anwar. My reaction to that was, oh, smart people can see through that and realize that that doesn't intellectually make a lot of sense. They didn't trapdoor Arch's roommate. What do we do? They haven't even trapdoored Will Randall yet.
Ain't that the damn truth?
They have not trapdoored Will Randall. You think they're going to trapdoor Arch's roommate and a guy that's actually pretty good? But you know, it wasn't me. It wasn't me that was taking the hits. Behind the scenes, people that have worked really hard, I think, to establish Texas's rep as we pay our bills on time. We are not fussy. There's no drama. You come here, you get paid. We win a bunch of games. There's nothing other than that. Parker, on the way out the door, kind of made it suggest that Texas was doing some shady stuff and that it was money that you know.
Oh, yeah. He
had no control over it. And I underestimated how hot that was going to make people behind the scenes who felt like, whoa. I think behind the scenes, they felt like we offered you a better than market deal in the first place. You said no, you wanted more. And now the suggestion is that we didn't do anything, that you just had to leave because we left you out in the cold. I underestimated how insulting that would feel to the people who were involved in that. But look, I got cussed out. So
I got an early morning, Saturday morning phone call before 7 o'clock or so, 7 o'clock, and they were pissed at Alex, and they were like, "Who the hell?" And I'm literally just getting like what the F? Are you serious? And I'm like, oh man, that's crazy. Hey, I curiosity, what's going on with the running back situation? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay, but let's talk about parking. Da, 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 da. I'm like, yeah, man, that's crazy. What happened to offensive line? Yeah, we're trying to do a couple of things. Da, 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 da.
I was like, my whole attitude was like, man, y'all don't. As someone that gets distracted and has been lured into these little skirmishes in the past, I speak from experience. I just thought, no, this is beneath you guys. This won't even be a thing on Monday. I was wrong. It turned into a thing. Because even yesterday I was noticing that outlets like Athlon were tweeting that out as clickbait of like, this is proof that the sport is going to hell in a handbasket. And it's like, wow, we really do live in these times where people want to clutch their pearls so quickly so that they can get mad at something. And in this instance, I think they wanted to like say, this is proof that college football is losing the culture war.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
It's such BS. And again, to me, it's, we never go.
How many guys? The thing is, what makes Parker Livingstone special? Because you know what? There are hundreds of guys that are getting trapdoored out of programs all over the country. Why not actually write about that guy?
Correct.
Instead of pile hopping on that guy will do more. Parker Livingston will do more harm to guys that actually deserve to have their stories written by claiming that somehow he got mistreated in all of this
for like 600,000 or something crazy like that. I had no choice where I was getting offered about $500,000 as a subpar receiver at Texas who had 2 100-yard games.
He wasn't subpar.
He was subpar.
He was okay.
He was no.
I think he's replacement level. And look, he had a good season for a redshirt freshman. Like his numbers historically,
he was subpar. He had 2 100-yard games. Yes. One versus San Jose State, the other versus Arkansas. In every other game, he didn't have over 50 yards receiving.
That is as a redshirt freshman to have over 500 yards receiving and the average to lead the team in yards per reception isn't insignificant.
He did half of that in 2 games with against a shitty team.
My problem with Parker
in one game.
My problem with Parker is that he can basically only do 2 things. He can work the outside and the sidelines, and he can run deep. But he's not really a burner. But that's what he is a limited skilled player. And so when he's on the field, you kind of know exactly what it is that he's going to do. It really limits when you lack speed and when you lack some of the playmaking that the skill positions lack this year. They would have been better off having a fast guy that can't catch than to have a guy who's not separating and can't threaten teams with his physical presence. Parker's a good football player, and he'll be a good football player where he goes. And I think he's got a chance to play in the NFL one day.
Oh, now you go. Now it's a bridge too far.
Parker
in NFL? No, not at all.
You don't think there's any chance he plays in the NFL?
Drafted?
I didn't say drafted. I said I think there's a chance he makes an NFL roster.
No.
I'll put a lunch on it.
Okay, I'll put a lunch on it.
And I don't even think he's good. And somehow I have ended up in the
I don't even know. NFL.
In these situations.
NFL, he can't play at Texas.
Hey, this is what I said about Christian Jones, though. Once upon a time, I was like, Christian Jones is going to play in the NFL. And all of you guys thought I was crazy. And I was like, well, look, but he's playing and starting as a redshirt freshman and as a sophomore. And like eventually he'll get good enough that playing 40 times and starting 40 times at Texas will lead to him getting an opportunity. And you guys wouldn't even let me finish the sentence. And I'm just saying, occasionally
Brennan Thompson will have a better NFL career than Parker Livingston.
Brennan Thompson?
Yes.
I agree.
Okay. All right. So we do agree on something. Okay.
Oh, I mean, Brennan Thompson, Texas might have made the playoffs this year. Brennan Thompson was a starting outside receiver for them.
Oh God, don't get Bonnie started. We don't need none of us. Nobody in the chat wants to hear from Bonnie today. Hey, real quick, let's knock this out because I got my kid's 13 today. Okay. I gotta go grab him. Here's an idea for next year. How about Texas waits until they get the portal guys signed before they let their entire roster go? Well,
I mean, Jay,
that's not how it really went. But
the thing is, all these guys are making decisions. I don't understand. Jay, you're so smart. Texas can't tell its roster, hey, guys, y'all don't make no decisions until – I know the portal opens up on the 2nd, and you got to look out for yourself. But can you wait till the 11th or the 12th before you go into the portal? That way we can find out if we've added your replacements yet or not. Like, Jay, fundamentally, think about what you're suggesting needed to take place. They needed to hold Wisner and DeAndre Moore hostage. Those guys decided we don't want to be here anymore. Before the portal opened, they didn't play in the bowl game. You're suggesting that Texas should have kept the two guys that didn't stay long enough to play in the bowl game until they get guys who were signed? How does that even, Jay, come on, Jay.
All right, dude, let's go.
Jay, you got to explain to me how that can actually work. Email me later today. I just need to know in your mind how they would have pulled that off. I am struggling to figure out the strategy behind how you convince those guys to wait until after you're done before they decide what they're going to do.
And the thing is, you can't, at the end of the day, when you're a 9-3 team that misses the playoffs, you can't say run it back. Like that, there's no room to say run it back. Run it back to what? To what you saw all of 2025? Or do you have to say, man, we got to get better? And that's what Texas is trying to do. So, look, even if it fails at it, at least they're making the effort. If they don't get Cam Coleman, I'm not going to say, oh, my God, Texas. I'm going to say, look, man, buddy talk BS. It is what it is. But you can't run it back. You think Arch wants to run it back? No. I guarantee you Arch is like, nah.
None of these dudes on this team, they're all willing to take the risk of losing some of their homeboys if it means they don't go 9-3 next year. Simple as that. I promise you, the players that were recruiting on campus this weekend trying to help facilitate some of this stuff, they weren't walking around all hard feeling, oh, man, I like Parker. I don't want Cam Coleman. No, man, these dudes were like, I will shank Parker Livingston if it means that Cam Coleman come here and play football here. Like, that's just
what did Art say about the Citrus Bowl right afterwards?
We ain't trying to come back to the Citrus Bowl.
It's just that simple. All right,
guys, we got to go. Thank you to Rogue Shop, who, hey man, I'm telling you, I got a whole little cubby hole over here full of Rogue Shop products. I'm about to engage in them as soon as I'm off. Go to the website, rogueshop.com. Use that promo code OrangeBloods for the discount. Anxiety, sleeplessness, pain, your pets, your parents, whatever it is that you need to take the edge off, to take some of the pain away, the sleeplessness, any of it. They got products for all of it. Check it out. The website's just a trip. If you haven't been to rogueshop.com, just go check out websites in 2026 because they are different than they were when I first got into the industry. It is so slick, and it just cracks me up every time I go there, and they've got a new offer out. What a world we live in. I love the Rogue Shop. For myself, for Mr. Austin FC himself, Anwar Richardson, we will.
For Maximus, my kid who turns 13 years old, I officially have a teenager. Happy birthday, Max. Dad's about to grab you. Teenager.
I still remember him at the table at Eddie V's with a fork in his hand. No fork. I was concerned for him, and you were like, hey, he's being quiet. Shut up. Let him have the fork. And look at us now. He's 13, and we're doing a show on YouTube all these years later. Guys, have a great day. We're going to try. We'll talk.